I pulled up to my kids' opening game of t-ball. I get out of the car and they're playing Fat Lip, and it's little kids, it's t-ball, and it's not censored. It's so inappropriate.
Letting it rip.
All the moms and dads are stoked. I was like, okay, cool.
Hey, we're Sum 41, and this is Billboard News.
Hey, I'm Lindsay Havens for Billboard News, and we are here with Grammy-nominated pop-punk pioneers, fusion band, if you will. You kind of do it all. Sum 41. How's it going, guys?
Good.
It's good.
Your eighth and final album, Heaven and Hell, is finally out. Congratulations. Followed by the last tour. Probably impossible to describe, but if you had to, how are you feeling in this moment right now?
It doesn't feel like anything's at the end. It feels like it's the beginning of a whole long cycle. So it kind of just feels like a new album right now. I think as it gets closer to the end, it'll start to hit us. But as of right now, it just feels like a new record's coming out.
Does it really feel like business as usual? Is there anything that feels different about going into the cycle?
It feels busier right now. Like we're really busy right now. It feels like 2001 for us. Like, you know, like when we were first coming out, we were getting pushed and pulled everywhere, like, which is good. It's a good
Now you know how to handle it. I feel like this window of time is always really special for artists because right now this album is still yours. What
it's
is
always my
that?
favorite time of the year, before an album comes out.
Before you give it away to everybody else. Why is that your favorite?
Because you get to choose who gets to listen to it, and there's no opinions about it. It's just yours.
You can watch people listen to it,
For the-
see
yeah.
their facial expressions.
Everyone loves to be watched as they listen to something. How else would the rest of you describe, you know, this period of time where what you've created is still sort of sacred to you?
No YouTube comments. That's
must be
a
nice.
great positive. Yeah, absolutely. No, it feels really great.
The main takeaway here is that this is a double album. And from my understanding, that was sort of like this unspoken consensus. But will you tell me a little bit about how we have this lengthy double-sided project?
Well, a lot of it was by accident, and it kind of started at the beginning of the pandemic for myself. Right when we went into lockdown, I started getting calls from labels and other managers and artists asking if I would write some songs for them. And everyone was kind of asking for like something leaning pop punk. And we haven't really done any pop punk in a long time. So I thought, I don't even know if I can write anything like that. It's been like 16 years. So I thought, maybe I'll just try to write some songs. And I wrote about 7 or 8. And once I listened to them, I realized that I actually liked them. And I didn't want to give them away. I didn't know what I would do with them. I didn't even think they would be Sum 41 songs. Just thought, I like these songs, I don't want to give them away. There were some other songs left over from the previous record that weren't finished, that were more heavy. I started working on some of those. And then throughout the pandemic, I just kept writing and collecting music. And I thought, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to send music out and say, here's what I've been working on, what do you guys think? And one by one, like everybody came back and said, what do you think about a double album? So that's when we kind of realized, okay, the music's saying the same thing to all of us.
At that point, when you started getting these songs through, what were you all doing and what did that feel like to maybe have that spark again of like, oh, we're getting this back up?
Oh, it felt amazing. It was like, oh, something to do.
It's a pandemic. You're sitting home. Might as well be doing something. I think most bands were kind of doing that at the time.
It was the light at a dark time, you know, when Derek hit us up and sent the music, and then like I went in my studio and got to play him for the first time. Like it was really emotional. And you know, it was cool that everyone was saying the same thing, because when I said to him, what do you think about this double thing? He just laughed, and I was like, uh-oh. And you're like, no, this is what everyone's saying. This is amazing that we're all saying the same thing.
What would you say, you know, 27 years, what is the key or some of the keys to sustainability and longevity in this career?
I think it's different for everybody, but for us, it's just we love what we do. And so we went through all the ups and downs, and you stick through it, and there are a lot of ups and downs. I mean, Heaven and Hell, the title, doesn't just represent the light and dark sonically of the record. To us, like, that's been our whole career. It's been extreme highs, extreme lows, and the only way you stick through it all is if you love what you're doing.
And we're all really good friends. Like, we were friends before the band even started.
This might be tough, but when you think back on, you know, the past almost 30 years, is there a memory that comes to mind that is the most hellish and most heaven-like being in this band?
Oh, I think there's a lot. Both. Well, I mean, there's been times where it just didn't feel like we were going to continue, and those are tough. And then there's times where, I mean, there's just been so many ups and downs.
The beginning of our career was very exciting, like being shot by labels and then being signed at, I don't know, 19 years old. I mean, that's a huge thing.
Is there one like shared high point though that you maybe in the process of this, as you're making this album, all reflected on is like, man, that was really special for us?
I think the fact that everything is doing what it's doing right now, all this stuff is happening, and I think we're at an age now where we actually can sit and appreciate it and notice it, because when you're younger, even though you love it, it just goes by so quick just because that's how your brain works back then, whereas now you can kind of sit back because of all the ups and downs we've been through. We know that it's not that easy. I think right now is the most exciting part of our whole career to me.
That said, throughout this, has there ever been a moment then so far where you're like, maybe we don't want to say that this is the last?
I've heard that so much.
I keep hearing that too. Well, yeah, because I mean, that's again, like we put on the tour not that long ago, and shows are selling out, and we're adding another night, and then another night, and it's like, we weren't expecting that.
Yeah.
And so people are like, you sure you want to call it the last record?
I mean, we've seen it before. People go on their final tour, and then, you know,
Elton
50
John.
years later, they're still on their final tour.
I've seen Elton John 6 times in my life.
And was it always
Only
the last
on
tour?
the final tour.
I saw him in Toronto, and the next day he announced another Toronto show the following year. I was like, you can't do that. This was
But
your
you
final
all
show.
can, if
We're,
you want.
that's not going to happen.
How does it feel to be in a position where you can choose that there's an endpoint? It's your decision, it's in your hands. What does that feel like?
It feels really great, but it also feels like something that I always knew. I think we all knew that no one was going to write our story except for us. I mean, I remember in the early days when on the first record you have success and people would say, oh, this band will be gone next year, or flash in the pan, all these kinds of things that people would say one-hit wonder when we first had a hit single. And I used to always think, like, you don't get to write our story. Like, we'll tell you when we're leaving.
What is tour like for you at this point? What will it be like? Are you still going out after?
Wheatgrass shots.
Yeah.
Nice.
Probably the same with you guys too, but because we're going to all these places probably for the last time, I'm going to go out and probably explore more than I ever have. You might never, ever be back there
Well, you
again.
know you'll have a lot of time to go back and do that stuff after
yeah.
the band's over. It's all free time.
Yeah, just really drive that home. You mentioned, the sort of unexpected reaction to announcing that this would be the last album, the last tour. Was there a conversation before you made this announcement of like, who's going to be paying attention? Or were you thinking about that, or does that not usually cross your mind?
I was surprised by the reaction. I knew, obviously, like our fans and super fans were going to be upset, which is why we decided we wanted to do one more tour, because we knew we didn't just want to say, oh yeah, by the way, that last time you saw us, that was it.
Yeah.
We knew we wanted to do that for the fans, but beyond that, we didn't think anybody was really going to, I didn't think anybody was going to care or talk about it.
We don't understand why it's so huge, but we're very accepting of it.
We'll take it.
Yes, of course. You receive it well, but it can still surprise you. I've been told fans are booing, when you mention the news.
Yeah.
Obviously that has to feel weird mentally, but how do you kind of shrug that off?
The boos are heartwarming.
It's
Yeah,
nice.
absolutely. Yeah.
They're good booze, yeah.
Good booze. That might be a first. So there's 2 songs in particular that I sort of want to go into a little bit deeper here. The first one is I Don't Need Anyone, which you had said, was sort of the only song on this album that is maybe self-aware that this is an ending. So tell me a little bit more about how that came to be.
It was just the only song that was really written from beginning to end after the decision was made to end the band or make this the final record. That's what gave us the idea, was listening to almost a finished record and saying this is a good final record. That song came because we still needed like a couple more songs, and I don't know, it just kind of came one day like they all do. They just sort of appear. And I didn't really think much about it until I was reading the lyrics back, and I kind of realized that, to me, reading it, it felt like I was writing about the situation or the band not as an individuals, but as a thing, like as Sum 41, as this sort of machine that has been the only thing in my life since we were in 10th grade.
I keep on texting them being like, hey, did I do something? Don't need to apologize.
That's what I'm saying, it's not about individuals.
Yeah, no, never taking anything literally, but definitely learning the backgrounds for this record. I've been like, these are some of the greatest lyrics that have come out of them. So very, very happy, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask, at this point, because as a listener too, I feel like you're all at your absolute sharpest. The instrumentation blows me away, the songwriting blows me away. Do you feel like at this point you are still impressing each other?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, like, I think every solo on this record was the best solos I think we've had on any record.
Trying to play guitar beside Tom. Tom is the best guitar player in the band. So there's always some catch up to be done.
I don't know. I'm always inspired by Dave. And the entire band. Like, I feel like we're at the top of our game. It's almost a shame to end it where it is. Because if we
But
ever
it's
come
almost the
back, and
best way to
hopefully we
leave it.
do,
Yeah.
but it'll be hard to get to this level. I've never been in a band that was this tight and this mentally in tune with each other.
Yeah.
Physically in tune and mentally in tune.
I mean, that totally comes across listening through this. And then
I don't know for how long
it's.
it's been, but like the last, 7 years, all we've done is just be on stage really together.
Yeah.
I think we've kind of really found a rhythm with each other. And you know, for us, being in a band has always meant about performing live. Like, we're not really like, we don't spend a lot of time in the studio or like, you know, trying to craft music. It's like we get music out quick so we can get back out on the road.
Yeah.
That's how we've always been, and that's what being a band is to us. So we spend so much time on stage that we've kind of built this. It's like just a lot of practice, basically.
I have questions about tour, do not worry, but there's one other song that I wanted to ask about, which is How the End Begins, which on that one, you know, fittingly, you're sort of wondering if the best years are behind you. But how does it feel, given everything you've said here and everything that I've understood, that you know they're not? You know, there's still a lot of good ahead.
I think because it's just human nature. You always go through moments of self-doubt. And when I remember when I wrote those lyrics, I didn't know what to write about. The first line is, sometimes I wonder if I have enough to say, or am I just an echo, reflection of yesterday? I remember thinking, I don't know what to write, and that line came out like, so do I have anything left to say? I don't even know. So I just wrote that down as like a line. Maybe that's what this song is about. Do I have anything left in me? And I just kind of went with that throughout that song.
That was an older song.
It was an older song.
Yeah, that was an unfinished older song.
Oh, wow.
It was written a few years before this idea.
And then was it you who remembered it, or did someone else point out to you that that was maybe
It's
fit
just,
well?
these songs are just always kind of hanging around. They're half finished, and I'm like, you know, I always liked it. It wasn't fully done yet. I think we recorded a version of it.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, and then we ended up redoing it and tweaking a few things.
There's a song on the album from 2011, I think.
There's a song,
The piano.
well, there's a song in there from 2003.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Which one is that?
It's I think it's called It's All Me.
Oh, yeah,
It's
right.
one right before How the End
Oh,
Begins.
right, yeah.
That was from the Chuck
days,
Yeah.
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 Wow.
That was a Chuck demo that never got finished.
That's right.
Yeah, I left the band, came back, and then
working on
finally,
that
finally.
Do you feel like at this point, you know, the process of working on this album, and obviously now I'm sure you're rehearsing, does it feel like a happy distraction from the inevitable final show?
I think, like I said before, it does feel like it's the beginning and not the end at all. And I think it's going to get stranger and stranger as we get closer to the last shows.
As you start playing the shows too, because you're going to play like all these cities that we've played for 20 years or 25 years, and it's going to be the last time you're playing in that city. So maybe it'll start to get strange in each city or something, you know, like Tokyo or something we've been going to for a long time and we love. So maybe that kind of show might be kind of strange.
I feel like for me, that no matter what you're thinking of before the show, the second you get on stage, it's gone.
Yeah.
And I think it'll all hit, like, I think once we leave Tokyo,
Yeah,
for me,
right.
I'll be like, oh, wow, that was the last one. On stage, I don't think, you're just doing your show. You know, that's how I feel.
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, during the show I think it'll be fun.
And then you walk off and you leave and you're like, oh, that was the last
That's it.
one. I didn't even think about that while we were playing.
Right.
And then it's just 18 hours on a plane, it's just pure
Sitting with your
sadness.
thoughts.
Yeah.
Is anyone a crier in the group?
Oh, right here. Yeah, all the time. Yeah, absolutely.
That will be the soundtrack.
I think we all are, actually.
It's good to let that out.
emo. We're emo.
Yeah.
That's right.
Zach should have known. So the tour will bring us through 2025, which is crazy to think about. What can we expect? Is there anything that you can tease at this point?
I mean, for us, like we said, like we basically, to be on stage is what makes you a real band. We always put everything we have into the show. We like playing songs that we think everyone's gonna know. We're not gonna play like the whole new album and none of the old stuff on our final tour. So, you know, I think we want to put together a great show that looks good on stage, all the lights and all the fire and all the cool, fun stuff. But as far as setlist goes, I mean, we're gonna play basically greatest hits with some fan favorites and then a couple new songs that people would probably know, like the singles from Heaven and Hell.
Of all of the hits over all of the years, do each of you have one that just resonates with you personally? You know, kind of aside from maybe what it did culturally, but is a really fond song and memory for you?
I still really love Fat Lip, but I also really love Still Waiting. That was like the first song that kind of, we went a different way. We had Fat Lip, then In Too Deep, and then Still Waiting, which didn't sound anything like either of those two. And that was kind of like this line in the sand for us where we're like, we're gonna not just repeat ourselves, we're gonna do different stuff. And every album kind of followed that same sort of idea of like, let's do something different this time. Still Waiting was kind of like the one that started that of like, the past doesn't have to equal the future for us.
You stole mine.
Exact answer.
And also that record, because we didn't have a lot of time to do that album.
Yeah.
Like we came off, which was a big album for us, All Killer. And we had, I don't know, 2 months?
6 weeks.
6 weeks?
To
Like,
write.
this is what you got.
out.
And so, and it's one of my favorite records we've ever done.
For me, it's Landmines. One of the most natural feeling things that it just slots right into the set, feels great live, and everybody, there's been no learning curve with that song, which is wild.
I don't know. It's hard to say because I feel both sides of it because I wasn't in the band in the early days. But I was kind of there when, like, on tour, opening was for some, when it was blowing up. So, Fat Lip, absolutely. Like, I remember the crowd singing, I'm like, these kids are fucking freaking out for you guys.
Yeah.
And then, later on, I don't know, Screaming Bloody Murder. Like, I don't know what the singles were because that was such a hectic time. Screaming Bloody Murder, maybe?
That was
I don't even remember.
But that was when I became...
It was a wild time.
That was when I sort of started becoming a creative part of the band.
Yeah.
Or like a part of the band.
Getting in the band, pretty shortly after that, we were making the 13 Voices record. So I was thrown right into it, which was really special time. Just getting to be in the studio and be part of that whole process, right off the bat. And then I agree, like, Heaven and Hell is something we're all so proud of. And I feel like it was great too to not have the stress of like the deadlines and stuff. Like, we recorded drums for a whole week, which we've never done because it was a double album.
Yeah.
So for us to be
In a week
there,
is pretty short.
yeah. We did like 3-4 songs a day, but normally it's like, 3-4 days, like on the past records, which was really amazing. And I just feel like it's the hardest I've ever pushed myself. And Derek and, Mike Green, same thing with like pre-production. It was just very, very detail oriented, and every single part that I played was talked and thought about. It was which was cool. It was hard. Like, I put a lot of pressure on myself, but I had the time. I was home, and it was just such a great process to be in the studio and do that in a time where it was like things were not good, in the world.
Yeah.
So it was really special and got me through that. So this record means a lot to me and is really special in so many ways.
That's what's sort of funny is that this album is what's going to get your fans through the fact that it's the last album. It's like feeding itself almost. I mean, it's pretty crazy to think 2024 just started and already knowing what you're going to be doing through, the start of 2025.
It's nice, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See it all mapped out.
Well, I think the best thing about that is that it's all selling well and people seem to be excited. That's always a good thing. Because we've been on the other side of that.
That is fun. This is the preferred way.
Gotta cancel that show. Cancel that show.
Thank you all so much for coming by. I really appreciate it. This album is fantastic. I truly think it's the best. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.